was hearing what Khalid bhai was saying, and ek waqia yaad aaya. I don't have proof for this story because nowadays everything requires documents. But this is a very famous legend that I read about. So there was this, about 1,000 years ago, there was a carpenter in Syria, in a small town in Syria, and he used to make members of masjid. So he used to make regularly and he used to sell the members, and then one day he decided to build the most beautiful creation of his. So he built this amazing, beautiful member that was, everybody was fascinated and everybody wanted to buy that member for their mosque. And the word spread around about that member that, this is the best member right now available in Syria, and this is available for buying. Even the king of Syria reached out to him saying, can you sell this member for the Jamia mosque, or the largest mosque in Syria? But the carpenter kept a single condition, that I'm going to sell this member only for Masjid-e-Aqsa. And at that time, Masjid-e-Aqsa was in the hands of Crusaders. They had taken over Jerusalem, and so when he posed this condition that it is only sold for Masjid-e-Aqsa, people didn't know what to do. They were like, that's not in the control of Muslims. Why does he want to sell this member? And when he got old, still nobody bought that member. And one small kid walked into his shop and asked this story. And he said, I'm going to sell this for Masjid-e-Aqsa. So the kid promised that carpenter that one day I'm going to defeat the Crusaders and I'm going to put this member in Masjid-e-Aqsa. That kid was Salahuddin Ayyubi. And he not only defeated Crusaders and put that member in Masjid-e-Aqsa. That member was in Masjid-e-Aqsa for 1,000 years. About 50 years back it got burned because there was a fire in the mosque. You can Google it. That's the story of a member. But the moral of that story is that whatever you are a lawyer, you are a journalist, you are an IT person, you are, whatever your profession is, you have a role to play. That carpenter, he was not a warrior, he was not a king, he was not a prince, he was not an army guy. But he had a vision that my skill is carpentry and I'm going to inspire people to win Jerusalem with my effort. And this is right now the task before each one of us. We are not an army, we are not politicians, but whatever our profession is, if somebody is a lawyer, that lawyer has a role to play. Somebody is an IT person, that person has a role to play. So what Khalid bhai is doing, he is an IT person, right? He knows coding. So he's building apps, and that is his way to helping the people. So each one of you today have that responsibility. Each one of you have to show that leadership. With whatever skills that you have, you can make a difference. You can change India, and you can bring a huge difference. You can reduce this hate that is going on in India with whatever skills that you have. So keep this story in mind. Now I'm going to talk about why there is a need for new leadership in India. And before I get into the details of this talk, I also have some numbers. Let's take a step back, and on a lot of WhatsApp and a lot of places, I've been seeing these messages that, hey, Saudi Arabia is not coming for our help, nobody is responding. UAE is not responding, Turkey is not responding. And we are looking up to these other nations, like Islamic nations. And few statistics I wanted to put in front of you. There are 200 million Muslims in India. That is 6 times more Muslims in Saudi Arabia. That is 2.5 times more Muslims in Iran. And if you consider the two largest powers, Saudi and Iran, we have more people than both of them combined. That's in India. Right? And we are the second largest community of Muslims. We are the second largest of the Ummah here in India. And by 2050, according to Pew Research, we are going to be the largest community of Ummah in the world. Imagine that responsibility. We cannot look at others and expect them to solve our problems. We got to be the torchbearers of leading this Ummah into the new generation. And this is a responsibility that is imposed on us whether we accept it or not. because we have those numbers. By 2050, we're going to be the largest community. But the question is, why are we more prepared for a global leadership? I mean, of course, we are facing challenges in India itself. We are not able to get MPs. We are not able to get documents and all that. And why am I talking about global leadership? The reason is, whenever a community goes through trials, it is then that Allah gives them the leadership. And today we are going through these trials. Inshallah, by 2050, when we are going to be the largest community of Ummah in the world, we're going to have those set of leaders within us. And these trials is the only thing that can happen out of these trials is producing next set of leaders. So second point is, we are being perfected by these trials. And these trials are happening, like the government is imposing on us. And and this is not a dead community. We are all awake. Zinda Kham hai. So these trials are going to happen. The second point, which I believe that would make the Muslim leadership of coming out of India can be at a global stage. Today, in terms of global stage, we talk about Erdogan talking about, representing Ummah. We talk about the King Salman, the Prince Salman, and few others. But there are not many people. But the Muslims, if we become the local leaders here, once we rise in India, we are more prepared than any other Arab guy or a Turk guy. Because an Arab leader or a Turk leader has only faced the challenge of local Muslims. For a Muslim to establish leadership in India, he has to not only win over Muslims, he has to also win over Hindus, Christians, and all other communities. So the amount of leadership it takes for a Muslim to succeed in India is far more significant than a leadership it takes by an Arab guy or a Turk guy. So if we succeed in India, there is a path set for us to be a global leader. And we can not only then go and solve problems, not only in India, we can go and solve problems in rest of the world. And that requires us to think big. But I'm also going to talk about what is going also wrong in our country. In last 20 years, can you name like 5 individuals who have become leaders? 5 young individuals from India. 1 MP from Hyderabad, that's about it, right? We don't have much names, to be honest with you. And the reason, there is this, the society in Jordan publishes every year 500 most influential Muslims in the world. And in that 500, only 21 were Indian Muslims. Our population percentage in the world in terms of Muslims is 11.1. There are 1.8 billion Muslims in the world and we have 200 million. If you divide 200 by 1.8, that's 11.1% population of the Muslim population is us. But only 21 got featured into top 500. And not even a single one in that is under 40. There must be something wrong going on here because the leaders that we have right now in India are all aging. It's like Japan, like the entire Japanese population right now is aging. Whereas the Muslim community in India, the average age itself is less than 25. But still, we are not producing leaders under 40. There must be something wrong. Now when we talk about what's going wrong within Muslims, let's also look at what's going right within BJP. Because they are right now our opponents. They are the ones who are challenging us, right? They are just an opposition. I don't consider them as enemies because in democracy there are no enemies. There's only opposition. And they have a point of view that might be against us, but they are our opposition. And let's understand what's going right in them. The party of BJP earlier was known with a different name, but the party that is there right now was set up in 1980 by Vajpayee and Advani. 1980. It was established. In 1984 elections, they won 2 seats. When I was born in 86, BJP had only 2 seats in Lok Sabha. That's the number of seats MIM has right now in Lok Sabha. They only had 2 seats. But what they did was they adopted Hindutva ideology, and by the time they were in 95-99 period, they came into power. Look at their meteoric rise. But then what happened? They lost the elections. Twice they lost the elections. And Manmohan Singh government was able to rule for 10 years. But look at the amazing thing that BJP did. They replaced their leaders. They created something called as Margdarshak Mandal, and they brought in a new set of leaders. Rajnath Singh took over. Amit Shah took over. Arun Jaitley took over. Sushma Swaraj took over. So they had this Vajpayee, Murli Manohar Joshi, Advani, and this set of leaders. But BJP had the vision in them that they had to create next set of leaders to take over. So immediately when the defeat started happening, the next generation leaders took over, and once again, the graph that was declining once again started rising. And if you look at how we were performing during the rise of the BJP, that's the green green line that you see, those are the number of MPs, Muslim MPs in the parliament. In 84, we had 42 Muslim MPs in the parliament. Today we have 27. And in that 27, most of them are old faces. They have been winning, and then their father was winning, so they took over the seat. They are winning. Right? There are no new names except one guy. There's only one exception right now, which is Imtiaz Jalil from Aurangabad. Just one exception. Right? Rest all is just old faces. And some of them are just celebrities, like Azharuddin won the elections once. So they are celebrities, just put in a Muslim majority seat and he wins. We are not winning elections in non-Muslim majority places at all. And this in correlation with what BJP has been doing. Look at the number of party presidents BJP has changed in last 40 years. This is the graph. Atal Bihari Vajpayee between 80 to 86. Advani 86 to 91. Murli Manohar Joshi 91 to 93. Advani again 93 to 95. There was this guy called Khashbandhu Thakre between 98 to 2000. Then Bangaru Lakshman. Then Jan Krishnamurthy, Venkaiah Naidu, Advani, Rajnath Singh, Nitin Gadkari, Rajnath Singh, Amit Shah. They have been constantly experimenting with different set of leaders. They are giving this message to their entire party that if you are talented, if you are working for the party, you can rise up to become the president of the party. And that attracts the best talent. The best talent among Hindus is joining BJP. That same message, none of the Muslim parties give you. They tell you that, yeah, this is the person, he's going to remain, till his death, he's going to remain the president. Yeah, dinosaur, sort of, right? Then his son, yeah, maybe then his son if it is there. So that is the challenge. So now, for a talented Muslim to even join, to have an aspiration, that's not there. And during this same period, look at the party president of Congress. They remain constant. They are basically telling the message that, there's going to be Gandhi Parivar and you have to, no matter what, accept their leadership. Then why, as a Muslim who is as talented as anyone else, I should accept to the proposition that someone else is going to be leader and I'm going to just be a party worker? Right? Only some galika land grabber will decide, okay, I need some political backing, so I'll join this party. The party has to give out a message that if you are working hard for the party, if you are achieving the results, you can go right at the top. That is the message that is precisely missing in Muslim organizations. Now here's how Muslim orgs are performing. And I took one of the most popular Muslim organization, but this could have been any other Muslim organization. So I took the numbers of All India Muslim Personnel Law Board. This got established in 1972. So far, only 4 presidents. And every time the president has changed, only because the president passed away. The president dies and then only we do a leadership change. The current president, Maulana Rabe Hassani Nadwi, he has been there since 2002. He is 90 plus right now. I mean, I'm not opposing the person is good, bad, all of that. That's other, I don't want to go into that data itself. In theory, this is highly, highly wrong. You have a population of Muslims that are under 25 and you are being represented by people who are 90s, who are in 80s, who are in 70s, who don't even know how to use Twitter. How are you going to bring a change in this country if this is how our leadership is going to be? Now, before, there were some points I missed, but this is the single important slide of my presentation. If you take away this slide and talk with everyone, nothing like it. Like my time here and the effort that I put in building it will be like. So this is a traditional, so I've done masters in political science. I worked in Microsoft, but out of interest, I studied masters in political science. I went through a lot of books to understand how other politicians are succeeding in India. And from that knowledge, I was able to build this simple funnel of entering into politics. In India, if you are a celebrity or if you are an entertainer, sports person, then you get a party ticket and you make a jump. But say you are not of that. You want to become a politician, what is going to be your strategy? And this is a strategy that majority of the politicians that are right now there, self-made politicians that are there right now, this is a strategy they have followed. Whether you are Hindu or Muslim, you right now have about 4 or 5 initial initial opportunities. One is, if you are a Muslim, you can become the head of the masjid committee. You start off your politics from there. If you are a Hindu, you start off becoming a head of a temple, or you organize the Ganesh mandap in your community and you start off your local politics from there. So you form your team, 10-15 people team, and you start collecting funds for the Ganesh setup and you start your politics, right? For a Muslim, it's a masjid. You start off with a masjid, you become a masjid head, and then you start doing programs there, you create some visibility, and then within an area you can start getting into municipality elections, you become a corporator. Once you become a corporator, you can further have ambitions, you become an MLA, and then MP, and then further on and on, right? Or you do university politics, like Kanaya Kumar or Umar Khalid have been doing. You do university politics, you get popularity there, and then again you enter into either MLA elections or municipality elections and all that. So the very first phase is getting into either you're heading a masjid or a mandir or a Ganesh mandap or a university. This is our phase 1. Now, what's happening in the context of Muslims? If you look at the masjid committees across all your areas, all those masjid committees are headed by a more than 60-year-old person. People who are retired are becoming masjid committee heads. Now that person does not have an ambition to climb up the ladder. Once he becomes masjid committee head, his goal is to just be there until he's dead. So what further he will grow? And whenever some youngster comes to become that masjid committee head or wants to become that masjid committee, they'll simply say, "Ke bhai jao aap job kar lo, ye sab pehle kama lo paise." So we do not have that minimum common sense to recognize that to build leaders, that phase 1 itself we are eliminating. So that's why you don't have under 40 leaders. Because no 30-year-old guy is becoming the head of masjid. And once he becomes at 30 the head of masjid, what is going to be his next ambition? His next ambition is going to be, how do I become the corporator of this area? And once he becomes corporator of the area by 36 or 38, what is going to be next ambition? To become MLA of the area. By the time he's 48, 50, he has already become the MLA. Now his next ambition would be to become MP. And by the time he's 60, he wants to become some union minister or a state minister. And that's how you build the leadership. Arvind Kejriwal as well.
This was not the steps followed by him.
No, but there are always exceptions. Like you take Arun Jaitley, student politics, Venkaiah Naidu, student politics, Kanaya Kumar, student politics. Politician. So there is always this lateral entry, because people have created some mass following and they make a lateral entry that this box represents that once you have a wider appeal you have created because of your individual achievements. Like Arvind Kejriwal did this corruption campaign, right? He brought in right to information. So he already created a pool of audience that is looking up to him. So he can make a jump from that, right? But for a regular person like you and me who do not have that silver lining in life, for us we have to go through that ladder. And that ladder, initial stage itself, we have been blocked. right? So now, I'm going to talk about 5 common challenges, and this I have posted in various groups from last 5-6 years. And these are challenges to bring awareness that why leaders are being not created in the Muslim community. The number one challenge is the aging uncle's domination in Muslim non-profits. Muslim non-profits provide the first ladder, right? You do like blood donation camp, you do water conservation camp, or you do some local activity within an area, you become like Basti ka leader, right? But what's happening is that youngsters are not even there in that. There are a bunch of old people who are there is no democratic way of elections being held. So majority of the organizations that you see, no elections held. For 20 years, the same person is holding the post. And then what happens is 20-30 years later, that organization just dies. No youngsters get encouraged, right? And 1 or 2 individuals keep holding the post, and that does a severe damage to the entire community because we are blocking youngsters. If the youngster cannot head an organization by 30, he cannot further grow up in the ladder. Statistically, his chances reduces. By 30, if Kanhaiya Kumar has this following, then only he can grow. Arun Jaitley won the elections by 30. Susma Swaraj and all these guys, they won the elections. They became some local level leaders by 30. If you cannot do that, not going to happen. The second problem, discrimination of youth at masjids. This is the most common problem in Muslims. Right now, if you just go and analyze, like I don't have data, but hopefully I'll gather the data. Maybe I'll talk with Khalid Bhai because he's collecting the data of masjids. Majority of the masjid committees are right now filled with retired gentlemen, 60 plus, and they think now being in the masjid committee, that is their path to the Jannah. So they want to do something and they earn Jannah. But what they are doing is effectively blocking youth from taking up leadership roles. A 30-year-old person can do much more to the community than a 60-year-old person because there is the time that is there for him. And that leadership that grows at 30 will not grow at 60. So that is a fundamental challenge. And the masjids are open only for 5 hours a day. Only when the prayer happens, the entire infrastructure is used. And only on Jummah, the entire infrastructure is used. Rest of the times, the masjid remains empty. Do you know from where Prophet Muhammad started his political career? Masjid al-Nabawi. This is the Sunnah. His political career, his sermons, everything started from Masjid al-Nabawi. And we are blocking our youth from that very Sunnah. It's against Islam. And we don't even have that common sense to realize that. And constantly, some youth walks in with a jeans or a t-shirt, he's being lectured. And then he'll never come back. So effectively, we are doing everything possible to kill the leaders. And then when that same person becomes 60, he can come to the masjid committee. So how do we produce leaders then? No wonder we are not able to produce MPs and MLAs and corporators. Judging Muslims on religious grounds. This is the most common problem among Muslims. You have Sania Mirza and we give fatwas. You have some individual doing something, we will judge on religious ground. Dadi nahi hai, fatwa pass kar do. Ya judge kar lo. He might not be a good Muslim representation. This quick judgments, Islam itself doesn't give us the right to pass the judgment. Because you never know, he might ask for forgiveness and Allah will forgive. And then you are the one who did the gossip and according to Islam, you had his dead body. You ate his dead body. That's what Islam says. So who is the bigger criminal here? We got to stop passing on quick judgments. The moment some cricketer, somebody's wife wears a cloth, like some cricketer's wife, immediately we start going crazy. We got to oppose that. That's so un-Islamic. That's haram. That's his personal life. Now that person will never speak for the community because what he has already seen is that the community was so critical of him, was so quickly they passed on the judgments on him that he will never talk in favor of the community. And that is why today, majority of the celebrities, Muslim celebrities are silent. Because whenever they did something wrong, we were immediately passing on judgments. That is something we got to avoid. We are alienating our achievers. No Muslim is going to be perfect. There is a reason why Allah said, I am repeatedly forgiving. Why did He call Himself as, why do we even need to say repeatedly forgiving? Either Allah is wrong or you are wrong. And our community is definitely wrong because Allah can't be wrong. Allah is saying He's repeatedly forgiving because He knows people will do mistakes. And Allah will repeatedly forgive those mistakes. So who are you and I to judge these people? So the moment we start judging, they will never speak in favor of our community. Today they are being silent. And one of the reasons is last 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, we have been alienating our achievers. The journalists, the cricketers, the entertainers, we have been alienating because we keep attacking their families, their beliefs, and the mistakes that they have been doing. Fourth one, inability to understand the importance of women. I mean, this is such a very basic thing. Like, it doesn't even require us to even discuss. This is like sort of like assume that you got to give the highest importance to women. Like the best of the men among you are the ones who treat your wives the best. Right? This is what Islam says. And yet, we have no place for women in the masjids. Sooner or later, BJP government is going to pass a law that will ensure that every woman enters the masjid. And it is so unfortunate. The right that Prophet Muhammad already gave to the women, it requires a BJP government to come and tell you that Muslim women are allowed in the masjid. It is so unfortunate. And we have never thought of, like Islam says that women can enter our mosque. There has to be a place for women in the masjid, and yet we have no foresight to ensure that. Active discouragement. The moment the women want to go into higher education, the moment women want to go into bigger jobs, we actively discourage them. Why do you want to go to the other city? Why do you want to go to Mumbai? Why do you want to go to Delhi? And that's how actively we are discouraging women. Like if you go on practo.com right now and look at the number of female gynecologists, Rajshekar Reddy gave this free education and reservation, right? There were thousands of Muslim women studied MBBS. Thousands of them studied gynecology. Go on practo.com and look at number of Muslim doctors. What happened? These women today are sitting at their homes. Majority of them are sitting at home. Why is it? Because our families are actively discriminating women who want to work. We have created this environment. And these are numbers. Like there are over 1,000 Muslims who were given reservation to study MBBS. And where are those women doctors? If they are not there, if they are not working for us, there could be two possibilities. Either they got married off and they are sitting at home, or they have left India. And was that the reason why reservation was introduced for women doctors? The reason was to come and help the community. And that's not at all happening. And then you look at go on Shadi.com or any of these matrimonial sites. How many Muslim men are even preferring working ladies? And who are the women that stood up for you today? The women who got gold medals, they rejected. The women who are studying some of the best degrees in the best institutes, they are the ones who stood against the policemen from beating Muslim men. And these women are actively discriminated on the matrimonial sites. Go and look up any matrimonial sites. Like Khalid Bhai can do a data mining. This is the reality of our community, where we are not having that dinner table conversations with our parents and saying, hey, this is going wrong. We got to encourage our women. We got to be the best husbands and best brothers and best fathers. And we are not being that. We are being absolutely losers. And on the day of judgment, every man can be dragged to hell by 4 women in his life. His mother, his sister, his wife, and his daughter. I really hope majority of us are not being dragged by that. Because we have brought this situation to ourselves by doing active discrimination. And yet, look at the greatness of Muslim women of India. They stood up. They stood up against the atrocities. They could have felt, oh, these men, we could have just go back and get married somewhere else, leave India. No, they did not. These are Jamia Millia girls, right? They stood up. Why do they need to take the beatings of police? Why do a girl who got a gold medal in Pondicherry has to reject the president of India giving her a gold medal? Because they care for the community. They have more iman than you and I have. And yet we are discriminated. So this is something we got to change as a community.
We have an example just beside my sister.
Alhamdulillah. Yeah, I mean just 3 out of 75 people. That also reflects like how we are not encouraging women to come out, right? And fifth, and this is the last point I think in the interest of time, I'll skip some of the other slides, which is the challenge number 5 is, if you look at any Muslim guy in an organization, he always just does campaigns only meant for Muslims. And we are completely avoiding progressive secular things. Like for example, water conservation. It is there in Islam. Like if you are even next to a river, you have to save water. That's what Prophet Muhammad said. Like even for wudu, you have to use, there is a limited amount of water that you need to take. This is what Islam teaches, and we are not at all doing that. We are into this like, triple talaq, let's go into that campaign. Or some of these very regressive sort of campaigns. But progressive campaigns like water conservation, pollution, environmental pollution. Have you seen any Muslim guy doing environmental pollution? And look at Hindutva Brigade. They have been like, Sri will do on water conservation and save the rivers campaign. One guy does yoga, like get fitter yoga. And this is all there in Islam. Prophet Muhammad fought wars at the age of 58. He was fit. He was crazy fit. And we have Muslims who are like 45-year-old and then they are using chairs in the mosque. Like how is that even, in line with Islam? Like was Prophet Muhammad not fit at the age of 55? He was fighting wars. He could walk 100 kilometers. And you ask people to walk 5 kilometers, they can't walk. This is our fitness problem, right? Why can't we do programs on that? When they can do on yoga worldwide, why can't the Muslims do a campaign on fitness? Prophet Muhammad said swimming is something that you can spend excess amount of time. Have we produced a gold medalist in Olympics in swimming? Like, do we even love our Prophet? We love our Prophet on easy things. If Prophet Muhammad says something very easy, we love him. But he says something difficult, like you can do swimming as much as possible, and we don't show our love to Prophet by winning a gold medal in Olympics. No Muslim has ever won a gold medal in Olympics in swimming. So that is the problem in us, right? We look at easier things and very Muslim-oriented things. But when it comes to proving ourselves on progressive things, we just take back. And look at the other challenge with Muslim organizations is the zakat problem. Right? Zakat, by its definition, is only meant for Muslims. So when a Muslim organization does every program that involves just zakat, then we are technically bound to only help Muslims. And that creates a sort of gap between our outreach to non-Muslims. A poor person is poor irrespective of whichever religion it is, right? But the moment we start overly relying on zakat donations, we start confining ourselves to a particular community. So there has to be a healthy balance. But none of the organizations ever, including the organization that I'm heading, we have never published a scorecard that says, hey, 50% of the programs will do zakat oriented and 50% non-zakat oriented. We've never done this. So how will we do outreach? And the only time we talk about outreach is when we want to do dawah. Like you invite a non-Muslim only because you want to convert him to Islam. Right? How would you build bridges? Why would they come out and protest along with you? When your only intention to talk to them is to just convert to Islam. You've got to do something more than that. Alright, so we spoke a lot of things. And also it's 9 o'clock. I'm getting a signal from there. So what is the solution? The solution, the answers are pretty obvious. I don't think anyone has not understood the answer. We got to push as many youth as possible in our boards, in your masjid boards, in our organization boards. They are going to fail, but we got to hold them. And one of the slides I earlier had, which I skipped talking about, what happens is we generally give the youth a chance, and the moment he does some mistake, you say like, look, he did the mistake, let's go back to the old board. No, people are going to make mistakes. We've got to handhold them. And that's when you'll have people leading our community. If we have 30-year-old leading a masjid, that person has a much better chance. Secondly, not only BJP, even Muslims need Margadarshak Mandals. BJP did the awesome thing, right? They took Advani, they took Vajpayee, they took Murli Manohar Joshi, and they put them in Margadarshak Mandal, which means that they are just advisors. We don't want you in the active politics, you have done good enough work. Right now, there is a huge need to take a lot of people and put them in this Margadarshak Mandal. Because these people are right now incapable to lead us. They are incapable to make their word being heard on social media. They are incapable to appear on news media. And yet they are holding on these positions. And we as a community got to tell them that, hey, we respect you. All these years you have done great work, but time has come for a new leadership. Time has come for the youth to take over. We're going to put you in some other name called Margadarshak Mandal. Maybe like kuch Urdu ka, Khadim Urdu ka kuch word identify karke unko dena chahiye. But this is like the iceberg, right? These are the challenges. The things that I spoke about are the ones that are hidden. What appears outside is that Muslims are not producing leaders. We are like giving triple talaq, and our women are unhappy, and that's what people hear about us. But the real challenges are these, that there are few generations among us who have actively not had that foresight to bring in youth in their masjid committees, in their organizational committees. And that's what the effect of that is, that today we don't have under 40 leaders. That's my talk. If there are any questions, I'll be happy to take.
Good talk. I'm happy to hear whatever that you've said. I have one question.
Sure.
You have listed out all the challenges.
Yep.
Have you explored in terms of what the solutions are possibly that we're looking at as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? These are the possible solutions.
Yes, I have solutions to each of the challenge. It's just in the interest of time I didn't cover. The idea, first of all, the idea of this particular talk was to just create awareness that these are the problems, right? And I have my own set of solutions, and these solutions might be right, might be wrong. I don't have that ilm-e-ghaib to say that this will work. But each one of us definitely have the capacity to identify what is going wrong, what is the challenges, right? And the 5 challenges that I described, these are happening as we speak. In terms of the solutions, right? The first solution, which is for the non-profits that are there right now across the country, they have to encourage democratic elections, where each 3 years or 4 years, there has to be change in the leadership team. That's the foremost thing. If you can name like 10 organizations in Hyderabad, and you can find that out of 10, maybe 7 of them had same set of president 10 years back, right? And this is a challenge that is there. So first thing is democratic elections. Second is encouraging youth to take up activities. The only time we call youth is when somebody has to arrange the chairs in an event. Right? Banda hai, usko kuch khush kar do, biryani khila do, chair laga dega. I mean, that guy can do wonders if you give him the scope. Right? So that's for the organization. In the masjid committee, I feel right now the Muslim youth has to start going to the mosque and saying, look, attend for a few months and then gonna have a polite conversation with the existing masjid.
Activities are not allowed in most of the masjids.
No, agreed, but
Deen Dunya concept is there.
I think first of all, that's a misconception, that because every khutbah that happens nowadays is touching upon a lot of politics, right? And
I'm sorry, I'm interrupting you.
Yeah.
Just to a quick answer. because when you were going through your slides, I was looking at one of the controversial statements that you made in terms of, you know, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam being a politician and an excellent politician that he made. Now, the reason why I'm speaking of, is I had made similar statements, years ago when I got kicked out of the masjid, saying, you don't say things like that about this man. And, it's a fact.
So they killed the leader then. Exactly.
The fact is, we have to accept two separate entities when we look at the Prophet's life. One was his divine entity, and the other one was the humanly entity that he lived, and he showed us the path that we are supposed to be, admiring and appreciating.
So, since you said controversial, I'll make slightly even more controversial statement. If you look at the lives of other prophets, if you analyze the lives of all the prophets till Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and the life of Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and if you ask a critical question, why do Allah need to send the last messenger? There was Islam even before Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam came. Why did Allah had to send another messenger? Why was the last messenger required? It's a critical question we got to ask, because he's the last prophet, right? And the answer to that, at least in my point of view, is that Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was that complete package. If you look at Isa Alayhi Salam, the Jesus Christ of Christianity, he preached religion. He did not participate in politics. He preached religion, he did a lot of things. Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was much more than just preaching a religion. He did everything. He had a family life. He gave us the values of how to lead a family life. He was a politician. Treaty of Hudaybiyah was an absolute political treaty. Like the whole agreement that happened with the kuffar of Mecca was a political statement. And after that, Allah said that it is a manifest victory. Right? It's a political move. He fought wars. He was a military tactician. He fought wars. He established a kingdom. He was a ruler. He established the laws. He established the revenue system. And that empire that he established, that grew from the lands of Arabia to the lands of Spain and the lands of Sindh and down in the Ethiopia and Sudan. So he was a combination of all of this. And it is expected out of Muslim to have traits of all this. Politics is within our religion. You cannot isolate it. Every aspect is there in Islam. It's just that we keep saying, it's like the French and the Britishers did, right? Isolation of church and the state. That's what we have started adopting. That the church is separate and the state is separate, which is what the liberty, fraternity of the French Revolution, all that happened. We are doing something very similar. We cannot. Islam talks about all the aspects. You are as much. You have got political learning from Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam as much as you have got religious learning, because he was a combination of everything. I hope there was more.
He lacked Quran understanding. It is one point was there.
Absolutely. We definitely definitely need to understand Quran more rigorously. We need to.
Just 1 minute.
I think I'll let some other people also ask.
I just want to answer that question. Just give 1 minute. Good answer in terms of understanding the Quran. What Muslims fail overall is they look at Quran as in isolation. Because what Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said is you need the Quran and the Sunnah. Because if you, as a science student, if you look at it in terms of the practicals and theory, your theory is what you're reading in the Quran. There's no practicals. Practicals comes from the Sunnah. So if you do not understand both in totality, then your practice is only half of it.
Sure. So in the interest of the time, if there are any more questions or this
So on behalf of Full Stack Academy, I would like to thank each and everyone to spend your time for these valuable sessions. Alhamdulillah, hope they are meaningful to you at this right time. Alhamdulillah, we keep making this kind of programs, and also a request. The facility what is being opened here is certainly a commercial space, and we do trainings connecting the young graduates into an IT industry. I request everyone while going you can have a brochure. copy. I request Adnan to hand over to you as well. And this is not a commerciality, but at the same time, we can utilize if you have any kind of a requirement which is for a cause and you need to arrange some meetings, we are open to arrange the meetings over here. So this is for, and it could be for a cause, inshallah, and if things are certain, and definitely we are going to give you this facility. Alhamdulillah, and I request each and everyone to have a cup of tea while before you leave. Alhamdulillah, I pray Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us khair and afiyat in this all activity. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi.